What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. I'm your host, Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group, and I'm a certified special trainer. Our goal is to shine a light on what we believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. We love the work we do, and we are glad you're listening to this podcast. In this episode, I catch up with Gil Cavey. We're talking about investing in your technicians and yourselves. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, I have a very special guest. You guys probably recognize him if you're watching the video. It's Gil Cavey from the HVAC Uncensored podcast. And it's kind of weird. It's Tuesday night, I know, but I've got a busy next 3 days. And I'm not going to have a chance to record. So I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. And Gil graciously stepped up to come on, and we're going to catch up and talk about investing in technicians. So, Gil, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, man? Thank you so much for being here, man. Like I told you in the text, dude, I really love what you guys are doing, man. Because the fact that you guys are in uncharted territory, there's not a whole bunch of kitchen and that area side of it. I remember starting and there wasn't that many of us. So, the fact that you guys are in uncharted territory and you're kind of paving the way, it's awesome, dude. I'm happy for you.
Thanks. We appreciate it. We're just having fun, man. This is going to be episode 101. And, I started this. I was talking to myself in front of a camera for like 7 hours and edited it down to like 20, 30 minutes and absolutely hated my life. And then I found some people to help me, and I kind of found a little rhythm. And here we are, 101 episodes later. And it's been an absolute blast. That's for sure.
Yeah, man, it goes by fast, and a lot of it's just about staying consistent, and it's awesome that you didn't want to miss this. And even after podcasting for 10 years, man, I still hate, like, I lost power a couple of weeks ago and I held out to the last minute and I'm like, but it happens. And people don't realize, man, the work it takes behind the scene to do these things, because, you're in the field, you're working. And when you get home, everybody wants to relax and you got to go do these things. And, but they are rewarding and you get to meet some awesome people.
Yeah, I've met a lot of great people, you included. It's been an absolute blast, the stuff I've done over the last couple of years because of this. I never thought I'd be here. It's really cool. It's super cool, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man.
The stuff I've done over the last couple of years because of this. I never thought I'd.
That was me. Sorry, I was trying to put the YouTube thing on and I accidentally the sound came on. My bad.
I thought it was me. I was like, I didn't bring YouTube up. What's going on? That's funny. So we talked a little bit about what I want to talk about. And I think it's been on my mind a lot here. I've been doing what I do for 18 plus years now, and everyone's, hey, how do we get guys? How do we keep guys? How do we retain guys? And I just keep coming back to this theme of like investing in your techs. I mean, and money's great, but money's not the end all be all. I mean, the way I see it is you want to train your guys so that they can leave, but you want to treat them so they will stay. And that's just my mantra when it comes to this kind of stuff. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's really how I kind of see it as a technician.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. And to be honest, running different companies and, being privileged to be able to talk to a bunch of younger techs, and when you hear their answer, most younger technicians, money is not what they're worried about. They're worried about PTO.
Mm-hmm.
They want paid time off. That's what's important to them. And I agree that some of the best technicians that I've seen has been younger guys that just, let me stop saying guys, younger techs, men and women, and that they come into the industry, they don't know anything, but they have good moral compass. They have integrity. They come from good families. And then you teach them and they end up being rock stars. And if you can continuously do that and, find a kid that, hey, they know college is not for them, but they're unsure of what they want to do. It's like, hey, man, well, why don't you come learn a trade? And if they're willing to do it and they put in the work, it's awesome. And it's so rewarding that when I was still at Beltway, which, so everybody knows, I'm no longer at Beltway. It's been publicly, but just so they know, I still love that place. I have not a bad thing to say it, but I loved that we had so many younger technicians. I'm talking like guys under the age of 30, most of them under the age of 25, making $100,000+ a year, doing it the right way, to the point that we had to give some of them financial classes because they were like, hey, I make more than my parents do. Like, I don't know what to do with this. We had a guy came in with like $5,000 Gator shoes on. And I was like, yeah, that's not what you do with this. I'm like, that's not what you do.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when I hit a certain point and I got a raise one year, and my boss was like, look, you might want to talk to an accountant and change your taxes a little bit, and you might want to be a little smarter with your money. And here I am, build a $130,000 barn. So, but yeah, I mean, I fully get that. I have two sons, and they both work with me. My oldest, he's been doing it 2 years. He's 21 years old. Just bought a brand new Bronco. He's got a house. He's engaged. 21 years old. I was like, when I was 21 years old, I had 2 kids and was broke, working 1,000,000 hours because I made a third of what he makes. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah. But it's got to be a proud moment as a father, though, man, to say that you have a 21-year-old kid who's independent, he's in the trades, and that's what we have to do, man. And I think, big ups to you. That's awesome that, you know how it is. Like, I'm the same way. My oldest son, if my kids want to do the trades, I am all for it. I just want them to want to do it, not just because I do it. But so many people out there say, oh, I support the trades. Oh, well, would you let your child do it? Nah, well, no. I mean, I want them to go to college. Well, then you don't support the trades. Then you're backpedaling here. So I think that when our kids get in the trades, and a story like your son is all the more reason to tell people, like, like my child does it. They're successful. They're independent. They're not 21-year-old kid like these dumbasses you see on TV talking about how bad the world is, and they're still shitting in Pampers, where your son is 21 and he's got his own house and he's, starting his life. And I love that. There's a lot of other young kids in the trade doing the same thing. And that's why I love talking to them on the show. I love seeing these younger kids getting in and promoting their work, because I feel like people are going to watch us, but the younger generation is going to flock to that age group. You know what I mean? Because we're the old men to them,
Oh no! You get on Instagram, you get the HVAC visionaries, and those guys are all younger guys, absolutely killing it. But like you said, they're showing off their work, and if you're proud of your work and you're showing it off, you're gonna do good work. It's just a natural byproduct of being proud of your work. You're gonna do good work, and those guys are absolutely out there killing it. I told my son, I was like, "Dude, start showing your work off." He's like, "Man, I'm over the internet." 21 years old, he doesn't want nothing to do with it. He's on there, but he just doesn't do anything. He's like, oh, I'm on here. He's like, I see your stuff. He's like, it's not for me anymore. He was one of those kids when he was 13, 14, making the dumb videos. I mean, he had all kinds of followers on TikTok, had like several videos like went viral, and like now it's like all deleted. Like, he wants nothing to do with it. I'm like, this is absolutely insane, dude. You got a chance to make some money showing awesome what you do, and you don't want no part of it. I was like, I love it, but it's just funny.
Can't say I blame him, though. I can't say I blame him, because it can be a pain in the ass sometimes. But yeah, it's funny you say that, because my last 2 episodes have been, well, the last 2 that have aired audio wise are with the visionaries, because I had Garrett on, and then I had Logan was the one that went out last Monday. And I think I'm going to have the rest of them, or they're scheduled, but they're a little further down. And I just love hearing their stories, man. And the fact that they're so excited, it's, as being one of the older guys, one of the vets, the old heads in the trade now. It's fulfilling to see that excitement. You know what I mean? Not to sound corny, but it is, because when we first got in, it was like crack the whip. You did what you were told, and you don't like it, they'll find somebody else to do it. And then when all them old guys started retiring off and not enough younger guys were coming in, then it was like, oh, okay. Then people started getting treated a little bit more better. So now's the time to do it, man. Especially if you're good at what you do, you can name your price, because a company doesn't want you to leave. Just think about it. If a guy makes $30 an hour and he comes in and says, I want 33, and you say, go fuck yourself, it's going to cost you more than $33 an hour to find a new person, train them, teach them the way you want it. So it just doesn't make sense business wise.
Yeah. And that's just, like we were talking about, coming back investing in these guys. I mean, it's wild to think that, that a company would let a guy go over $3 an hour if he's profitable, if he has, 0 to no callbacks, he's banging out of the park. He's he's meeting all the metrics that make you money, make the company money, and you're going to let him go over 10%. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And there's people out there every day that'll do it, though. And there's businesses out there every day that'll do it. I'm like, you guys are insane, man.
Well, and most of them are big corporate companies. I mean, I know you work for a bigger conglomerate, so I'll be careful what I say. But when those big bosses look at P&Ls and spreadsheets, they make decisions based off numbers, not people, because they don't know everybody. It's so big. Even at Beltway, being almost a $10 million company, we still made decisions because we knew everybody, so that's what I like about the little smaller family style feel is, it's Jimmy, Steve, Pat, Gil. It's not like, oh, we need to cut this by 4%, figure it the fuck out. And that's kind of what happens with these big places, because everyone's replaceable to them.
Well, it's just everyone has to report to somebody. Even the people at the very top still report to somebody. I don't care what your title is. You still report to somebody, whether, you're reporting to your parent company, or if you are the parent company and you're running that, you got private equity investors you report to. I mean, there's always someone above you. It's weird. When you get big, there's always people above you.
Shareholders, board of directors that you got to go, say all that stuff to. And trust me, that shit's for the birds. Not to go off on a tangent, but me and Pat were talking off air, man. And, everybody thinks they want to be the boss and they want to run this company, and touche to the people that do, man, because it's a fucking headache. And it's a lot of work. It's fulfilling, but it's a lot of work. And what we're doing right now, talking about investing in technicians and training, that's what I love. That's my passion. That's what I love to do. I would do that shit for free. So getting paid to do it is awesome. So I absolutely love it. And training is just so rewarding too, especially when you have young people that they're asking questions. They're not the ones that are just sitting there on their phone. And then, they have that aha moment where it just clicks, and it's like, oh shit, the squirrel's running, the gears are grinding, like he's getting this or she's getting this, and it's absolutely awesome. And it's almost like that, parent-child relationship kind of deal when you're kind of mentoring them, and it makes you better as the teacher. Like me teaching other people has made me better at what I do. And I know some of the people in the chat that listen to my show as well have heard me say this a million times, but when Jim Bergman said it, you don't really know something till you got to teach somebody else. I just believe that 100%. I mean, that is 100% true.
Yeah. I remember when I first started doing this, man, like I've always worked for big companies. I've never worked for a small shop. So like, I'm kind of skewed. I like what I do. I like where I work at. So don't get me wrong. But like when I first started, man, I struggled, and then like I kept getting sent out to stuff where I just kept getting my tail beat over and over and over again. And that's the kind of stuff I don't want guys to be in, because that makes you feel like, hey, they don't want me to learn this. They're not investing in me. They know I'm struggling. I'm reaching out. I'm telling them I'm struggling, but I'm not getting any help. I'm not getting the training. I'm not getting brought up. And I think that is what pushes a lot of guys out, really, is, the guys feel like they're just left out there on the island to figure it out for themselves. And you know what? Some guys will flourish and figure it out, but some guys won't. They'll just, I can't do this. They're not going to help me out. I'll find somewhere else that will.
Yeah. Well, I think I agree with that. And I think part of it is the tech needs to stay hungry no matter what stage you are in your career. And you always have to challenge people. Something that we would do at Beltway that, I got from Ryan is we would always say the 3 C's. To make somebody be successful, you have to challenge them. What is it? Challenge, care. Now I'm going to forget this. How can I forget the 3 C's? But anyway, one of them is challenge. You have to challenge somebody. They have to know that they're growing and they're moving in the right direction. And too many of those companies, I feel bad for these guys. They feel like they have to lie to say they know something they don't know to be able to get a job or get a van. And then they get sent out and they get stuck on like what you just said. And then they're afraid they can't call and ask for question because their boss thinks they know what they're doing. And it just starts this vicious cycle that people don't want to do it. Or it's the trade school thing where they get lied to. Oh, you should be making $35-40 an hour when you get out of here. And then the kids get their first job and find out it's not true. Like you're going to make, 16, 17, maybe 20 if you're lucky, and then they leave. So it's just, yeah, I think we are moving in the right direction. I think things are getting better, just not as fast as we want them.
Yeah, I've been doing this 18 years, and the changes I've seen in the industry in 18 years have been wild. And
Oh yeah.
we've got guys that are training guys been doing this 35, 40 years. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, this guy should be doing this by now. I didn't have this much time. I'm like, dude, you learned 40 years ago, like you could carry like 15 common parts and use them on any manufacturer and make it work. I said, now everything's got a proprietary computer in it, touchscreen, everything's proprietary, miles of wire. It's just amazing that how far things have come. And but these older guys, they think, oh, we can just train them a couple weeks, turn them out. I'm like, man, it's not that case anymore.
Yeah, no. And I remember the 3 C's: challenge, clarity, and care. There we go. I was gonna get mad at myself if I was gonna have a brain fart on air and couldn't remember it. But yeah, it is. And then it's also, not knowing. That's where I think people like us, we almost have a duty as influencers, podcasters, streamers, whatever the fuck you want to call us, to be careful with the information that we give out, because and also letting them know about schools and trade schools. Like, I'm not sure how the trade schools is for this side of it, but 80% of them in HVAC alone are sadly probably dog shit, but there is some good ones. So just making sure that these people are doing their research, because the last thing we want to do is have somebody excited to get in, and then that flame gets doused with some dumbass instructor that doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground teaching some school. We have one around here where you only have to be in the trade for 2 years to teach.
Oh, wow.
They don't even know what they're doing. How the fuck are they going to teach somebody else, curriculum or not?
That's wild. Like, I haven't actually seen a trade school specifically designed for what we do. Now, there's some refrigeration schools out there and stuff people can go to, but like as far as like the kitchen is, it's pretty much just like find someone that's willing to train and invest in you and like ride that out. Do what you can. Like, there's guys that will go to work. There's a certain company out there. It's not my company, but there's a certain company out there. People will go there and they'll do 3-5 years there because they know that company will train them. And then they'll bounce. They'll do 3 or 5 years ago there. They'll get good and they'll bounce and go somewhere else and make money. But as far as trade schools, I haven't really seen anything. There's some organizations that do some teaching and stuff, but there's no place you can go to school for a year and then come out and then get a job.
Yeah, no, there's a school around here. As much as I want to say their name so bad, I won't. They have a training program that they train people, but these people don't realize they're signing their fucking life away. And to the point where they can't leave. And then you have these guys that have been there for like, I don't know, 20 years or so. Guys that should be making like good money are making like $28 an hour. Like, that's what they max out at, but they can't leave because of some contract they signed. And I'm like, that's highway robbery. I mean, like, that's that. I mean, I don't care what area you live in. Most good mechanics that have been doing this for a little bit are at least in that 35 and up range. I mean, would you agree?
Oh, yeah, easy.
Yeah.
I mean, but someone said trapping people in training sounds like some union halls. I don't know about union halls. I know some companies that, not in my industry per se, but I know a friend of mine's a plumber, and like they sent him to school, and he has to work 5 years after he's done, or they soon he signed a contract, and they'll take whatever money they want. It's a set dollar amount for however long, but he's wanting to go somewhere else, and they kind of get him held hostage until that 5 years is up. It sucks, man. That's a bad feeling because they're gonna get you for $10,000 easy.
Oh yeah, they're going to get the money they paid and some. Or the companies that are like, oh, must have 5 years experience. Like, okay, well, how the fuck are these guys supposed to get 5 years experience if nobody hires them? And so I love bringing in the kids. But one thing I would do with the young kids on the first day they were hired is we do what was called integrity check, and I'd make them clean the bathrooms. And I just wanted to see what they would say. Because if somebody was like, oh, I don't clean bathrooms. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming in. Have a good day. But if they would do it and they wouldn't bitch, I'd be like, all right, this is the kind of person that I'm talking about. Because me, as the general manager of the company, I would clean the bathrooms. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I was asking somebody to do something I wouldn't do. So I think it works. I highly think people should get out there. If you find good young people, they don't have to know anything, and teach them the right way to do things, because then that's all they know. It's not some guy that's been doing shit wrong for 10 years, and he's stuck in his ways.
Yep. I'd much rather get somebody young that doesn't have bad habits and I can teach them the right way than to bring someone that's been doing it 25 years and has terrible habits. And then you're just going behind them and cleaning up the messes from those habits, or, they don't know how to talk to people, or, that kind of stuff. And that can be more, damage than good.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but like people, like you said, 18 years, I got what, 20 something years in the trade. And that does mean the world to me. We are considered vets, but I'll say this on the flip side of that. Just because somebody's been in the trade for 20 something years doesn't mean they're good at what they do. That's just the sad truth. They should be. They should have had enough experiences in that amount of time to make them above average at what they do. But I know a lot of guys that have been doing the bare fucking minimum for 20 years. And I know other techs that are hungry, that are, year 4 or 5, that would blow that 20-year vet out of the fucking water. So I'm not saying don't respect the veterans like us, God damn it. Because some of us did bust our ass to get to where we are. But just because somebody's been in the trade for, 15, 20 years doesn't mean they're automatically good at what they do. And that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I see it all the time. I've seen some guys come in new and they ride with one person, you can tell they're learning, they're interested, and like they ride with somebody else, and they come back like, well, this person did it this way, and it's like, that's not right, is it? And I was like, no, that's not right. Don't do it that way. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus or anything. It was like, especially if you haven't been in the industry, but a few months, or maybe you came from HVAC residential over to what we do, and that's not right already. Like, that's saying a lot.
Yeah. And, I actually had it happen the other day. It was actually right after the video that I put out on Instagram, talking about wiring one of those rescue motors, about, 4-wire or 3-wire. And this one person had said that they've been in the trade for like 16 years. And he was like, well, that's the only way you can wire that up. And I'm like, no, it's not. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, have you ever read a fucking wiring schematic? And so that was like, you know what? I assume people know this, but let me just put out a video to let people know. And that's when I had to tell them, I'm like, hey man, the white wire and the brown and white wire are the same exact wire. I'm like, so if you don't want to put another capacitor in, just take the brown and white wire and just wire nut it off and then hook it up like you normally would. And when I did it and it worked, the guy was like, and granted, he wasn't at the company that I'm training now. He was like a neighbor that apparently did it for 20 years, and now he does something else, which you automatically know there's some bullshit in that story. But yeah, when it worked, he was like dumbfounded, and I was like, well, I'm glad you learned something there, big guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's funny. You always got to be willing to learn. I mean, I love learning new stuff. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 24 years old, and every time I learn something new, I'm like, I write it down, I put a note in the phone. I'm like, dude, I want to learn how to do my job faster, easier, and better every single day.
Yeah, and you have to, you have to constantly be evolving in this industry. You have to, and I don't care how long you've been here. There's constantly something changing, new refrigerants, new equipment. Now there's a new way of doing this. The efficiencies change. Like in you guys, there's new ovens, new kinds of refrigerators. Like there's always something that you have to constantly be learning. And sadly, I think that, and I've said this, a million times as well, I think there's some techs out there that they learn just enough to get by, like just enough to be dangerous, and then they stop and they handicap themselves. Like, when you treat this industry like a career and not just a job, you can start having a really awesome career and make some serious money. If you treat it like a I'm just trying to get my paycheck at the end of the week. Well, that's all it's ever going to be for you.
Yep. And, it's like everything in life. There's 3 different people in every job. There's people that can't do it. There's the people that can do it and settle at a certain point, and they just coast because, they get by. They don't want to be more. They just coast and they just ride out that, level playing, for the end of their career. And then you got the guys that really, they're always learning. They're wanting to excel. And those are the guys that really, are the workhorses of the industry. They're the guys that you can count on to get the stuff done, take care of the customer. And, there's a place for everybody, but I want to be that guy that's always learning and excelling. I don't want to be the guy that's just happy with what I got going on and just riding it out.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. And honestly, when I did that, I was that coast guy for a little bit when I first left my dad. And, and I've said that story where I would call my dad on every fucking call. And the best thing my dad ever did was say, hey man, like, you're never going to learn calling me. So as long as you're not hurt and you're okay, don't call me when you're at work. Click. And miserable at the time, but it was life-changing. It said I got sick and tired of not knowing, and that's what made me stick my nose in the books and really try to get good at it. And thank God that that happened to me, because who knows where I'd be if I didn't. And my dad just kept helping me and babying me. So yeah, thank God that happened, because I wouldn't want to be. God knows what I'd be doing now.
Yeah, you got to invest in yourself, though. You can't always rely on the company to do it. Like you said, you asked your dad, and eventually your dad's like, figure it out. And what'd you do? You turned around and invested in yourself. You didn't just, well, no one's telling me, no one's helping me out. I'm just, pity party. No, you did what you had to do to become the tech you wanted to be. And that's cool.
Yeah, I still have all the books and the online courses. Like, I still keep all that stuff. And I like to still pop them out and just go through them and see all the notes I used to write. And it takes me back to those nights that, I didn't get off till 8 o'clock at night, kissed my kids, ate with my wife. And then I was sitting down there reading books, going through and stuff, and then trying to put that theory in practice the next day. And I always say, like, sports, I don't care what sport that you like. Think of whatever athlete you want. All the greatest athletes, they didn't just go to their team practice and then go home. Most of them would put in work before and after. Mm-hmm. You would hear they're the first one in the gym or the last one in the gym. And that's how they set themselves apart. Well, this is no different. Mm-hmm. It can't just be like, it's awesome to have your work provide training, and they should, but you should also be disciplined enough and care enough about what you're doing to do some stuff on your own. Like now with the training I'm doing, I will help cover topics like, say, the refrigeration cycle. I'm going to go over for a little bit, because let's be honest, if you're sitting there talking about the refrigeration cycle for 2 hours, it gets boring as fuck.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's something you have to know. So I'll cover it for a brief period, and I'll say, if you do not understand this fully, and I have my phone number on the board, I'm like, I want you to text me. It's private. Nobody knows. I will provide you with the resources necessary to make sure that you understand it, because I want them to have the motivation to want to do it. If they don't say anything, well, then you didn't care about it that much. And sadly, a lot of times I'm sending them like Craig's videos, AC Service Tech, or some Brian Orr. So touche to those gentlemen for letting me use training materials off their YouTube channel.
Those guys are awesome, man. I teach refrigeration for Safesa, and I rely on a lot of stuff from Craig and from Brian, little snippets I'll show stuff. But, like you said, you can stand up and talk to refrigeration cycle till you're blue in the face, and some guys won't ever understand it. So when I do it, I get up and I got mock-ups out in the training room. We'll go out there and be like, hey, what state is the gas in, in this coil? What state is the gas in here? What state is it in here? And just kind of go through it that way. But yeah, I could see the standing there talking about just driving yourself nuts. So
yeah, you can only draw it so many times, and you have to have the hands-on part, because I remember seeing it when I went to trade school, and I only went to trade school, honestly, because my dad said, hey, well, maybe this would be good for you. I'd already been in the field. Plus my dad and my father-in-law put a financial gain on it. So I'm like, yeah, fuck you. I'll graduate first in my class. But and this guy was awesome. I forget his name, but he was an African dude and very smart. When it came to the book knowledge stuff, this guy was acing stuff. But as soon as it came to the hands-on, he might as well shove that wrench up his ass because he had no idea what he was doing. So I do think in training and teaching, whether it's HVAC, residential, commercial, or the side that you're doing, the theory and the hands-on has to be blended together to learn properly.
Yeah, when I first took it over, man, it was like 80% like slides and PowerPoints, and just like when I sat through the class first time, I wanted to beat my head against the wall. I was like, how are you doing this to these guys, man? Like, no way they're learning anything in this. It's like, this is, dude, there was like Copeland videos from like the early 80s, I swear. I was like, they made videos back then? I was like, this thing is terrible.
Yeah, we don't use these compressors anymore, but
yeah, there's some compressors and I'm like, what is this? And like, no, why are we teaching the guys this? This isn't relevant. Let's stick to stuff that we know. Let's stick to R290. Let's stick to, the normal stuff we deal with. So it's just like everything else. I mean, you got to invest in the training side of it too. I mean, it's I don't know. You just can't get complacent, especially the way things change.
yeah, no, it's funny. Brian Sanders he said, I just know red means high and blue means low. LOL. That's funny, but you'd be surprised how many guys really think that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm amazed some of the guys are actually in this industry and some of the stuff they do. I'm like, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, and you haven't hurt yourself or like seriously caused damage to anything?
Yeah, I wish I would have took pictures today, man. When you go out and see some of these, these homeowner ductless installation jobs, oh my God, they're fucking hilarious. These people, obviously they don't know how to flare or anything. So the whole 50-foot line set they used, and they only probably needed like 15 feet. It was just wrapped up underneath of it, wire tied together. The whip for the disconnect was 8 miles too long, just looped. I'll have to try to find a picture of it and send it to you, because I was like, what the fuck is this contraption?
Dude, my local Lowe's is selling. I made a video about it. There's like several of my Lowe's is selling Mr. Cools, dude. They got a 120 volt unit and a 240 volt unit, like a single head and a two head. I'm like, what in the world, man? I guess it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that pisses me off about our trade is, well, trades in general, is the fact that we're so important. And I think that until us in the industry hold ourselves to that standard, we can't be mad when other people or customers don't do it. You know what I mean? But yeah, shit like that, it just pissed me off. People like, oh man, I looked that part up on Google, and I know that's more like the residential side, but I looked that part up on Google, and it's like, okay, well then why do we have steakhouses or steak restaurants? We can all go to the grocery store and buy a steak and make it ourselves. It's cheaper. Are you going to take your own steak into fucking Outback and be like, no, I want you to make this? No. Do you negotiate with your fucking doctor or your dentist? Well, don't let them do it to you either.
Yeah.
I mean,
I had a friend make a post because their AC quit working at the beginning of the season. They made a post about it, and like it was a capacitor, and they like absolutely lost their mind to what the guy charged them. And I was like, that's actually pretty cheap. I was like, I'd pay that all day, if I was in that situation. And I told the person, I was like, you're not paying for that capacitor. You're paying for that truck. You're paying for the training. You're paying for labor. You're paying for the people in the office. You're paying for the building. It's a lot more to that HVAC call than just a capacitor. That's the only thing you've seen was capacitor. But so there's a lot of moving parts on the back end. And the guy, he was mad about it. I was like, because I was kind of defensive when he made the post, and I really shouldn't have been. But he made it, the normal homeowner. Oh, it's a $7 capacitor and it cost me $400. I'm like, did you clean your coil? Well, yeah. Well, it was more than just a capacitor, then, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you also paid for that guy's knowledge to be able to do it fast. And I remember explaining to a customer, and I, said the same thing you did. You're paying for the lights, and like, oh, so I have to pay for all that? Yeah, that's how business works. And this person had the nerve to tell me, oh, I used to run a business. Well, I guess I understand why you don't anymore.
Yeah, you used to, keyword.
Yeah, you think when you go to McDonald's, and granted that you're buying, that food for your family, and maybe it cost you, say, $50. You think in that is not paying for all the salaries, the lights, all that kind of stuff. Yes, that's how fucking business works. Do I think there's some people out there that are gouging people and taking it too far? Of course. Whenever there's good, there will always be bad. But I'm sorry, $400 for a capacitor for a company that is doing what we're saying. If you want one of them to invest in their technicians and send them to good schools, which are normally out of state, so they're paying for their travel, they're helping them get tools, they're driving good vans, that shit costs money. Who the fuck do you think's paying for that?
Yeah, and Rich, my co-host here, he goes, it's amazing how much we don't actually make on those overpriced service calls.
Yeah, no. When you break it down, there's not as much of it going to the company as you think there is. Just like most of you, especially if you're in residential, like medium size, you're not working for some huge conglomerate, and you think the owner of your company's, sitting in his office counting his money. They're not making as much as you think they are. I know that for a fact. Not saying they're hurting for anything, but they should be in a good place because they're the ones that put all the risk. You know what I mean? You can always find another job. The business shuts down. That's their livelihood, So they should get those benefits. So it's just, don't be ignorant. And I'm not saying I never was either. It's just, I always try to play devil's advocate on the other side. And I feel like too many people make these half-cocked, ignorant comments, and it just makes you sound stupid. Like, just do your research before you say something like that. And if you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know something. It's, we all have this macho ego.
I think it stems because a lot of people have never struggled. Most people come from middle class families. They've had it easy. They've never had to struggle. And I think, they just expect things to be handed to them. Oh, it's a $7 part. Why did it cost me $400? So they think, oh, I should, okay, I'll pay $100. Well, no, $100 doesn't get my truck here. If I charged $100 for a service call, I'd lose, $150 in the process or whatever. I mean, but I just think it stems from people haven't really suffered. They just have had it easy their entire life. And I think they just expect people to, everything else has been given to them. Let's, we're going to give it to them. No, we're not.
Yeah. Well, and they just don't understand, business and the cost of things. It's just, it's not the way it works. I mean, we all buy jewelry, and, jewelry stores are one of the biggest rip-off markups in the world. That engagement ring that you spent $10,000 for probably cost that jewelry store like a couple $100. And that's the sad reality of the markup in jewelry. But you don't go in there and haggle with him.
Yeah. Yeah, jewelry stores are famous for marking the prices up and having a sale and marking them back down.
Yeah. We marked it up $5,000, and oh man, we get a $5,000 off everything in the store. Like, I bet you do. Well, you know what it is, man. People want to feel warm and fuzzy. They want to feel like they're getting a discount, and the same thing happens in HVAC. A company's got to get their nut to be able to sell something. So, however you communicate that to the customer doesn't really matter.
So let's talk about your new role a little bit. I've seen you post some videos running around some younger guys. Do you want to talk about, what you got going on right now and some of the stuff you're doing for the industry right now?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people know that, I walked away from Beltway. I have a lot of things going on, stress wise, stuff with my mom and different things like that. And I love what I was doing. And I always thought people think, trying to be careful how I phrase this. I believe that people should have an exit strategy when you get into this trade, because our bodies can't take being in the field until we're 55, 60 years old. I always thought that my next move had to be into management. So I went into that role. I slowly worked up, and I'm very fortunate and appreciative to be able to be work for two very successful companies at Beltway, a very, successful company. I was the general manager, worked with some amazing people, and the culture was awesome. I love the training part, but the stress of it got to be a lot. It just got to be where it wasn't fun. I love the technical side. I like the fixing things, and I love the training part of it. So right now, obviously, I have the podcast. I have some other business ventures that I do. But right now, I am doing technical training and ride-alongs, kind of a coaching thing, for my buddy Zeke. He's actually one of the moderators that's in there. He owns this company, JC Warner, which is on the Eastern Shore in Maryland. And I've been over there every day riding along with his techs, and it's been absolutely amazing. He's got a nice little smaller shop there doing some really good things. And I'm able to help them with some business advice and help put some processes in place, and also be able to help train those techs, like I said. But to be honest, I do like the coaching part, but I don't know if I could be one of those coaches that like just constantly starts over, because I'm an emotional person. I like to build relationships. I would, if I was with somebody, and plus to me, I can't go to a company for a week and, oh, you're all fixed. Thanks for the, 10 grand. See you later. I think that's bullshit and a waste of money. And I'm the kind of person that if I went to somebody's company and I felt like I didn't do what I said I was going to do, I couldn't take their money. That's the kind of person that I am. I'm in the process of doing some kind of coaching and building thing that I'm going to be doing through the podcast, which is going to be more online with people. But I'm not sure what the future holds. I got to talk to Zeke. Who knows? Maybe I may stay there and find a position if he's willing to have me. Obviously, that's his decision. If not, I don't know. Maybe I'll go work for a manufacturer or something. I'm not sure, but I definitely want to do the technical and the training side. That's just very fulfilling to me. Like I said earlier, I would do that for free. So the fact that I can get paid to do that just means the world to me. Even though my son wants me to start my own HVAC company, and I'm like, I don't know if I got it in me to do that right now, brother.
Yeah. I used to do more training than I do now, and they're actually revamping a program I used to be in. I'm actually going to go back and get trained on the newest products and start doing that again. And I really enjoy training. I don't know if I want to come off the tools completely, but I do enjoy, going somewhere, meeting some new faces or seeing some old faces I've dealt with and teaching them, on new equipment or teaching them processes and that kind of stuff. I think it's cool to make a connection with these people and to make an impact in their lives. And it's really fun to do.
Yeah, and at least on this side, what's good that I get to still keep the tools in my hand, because, I think there's too many of these so-called coaches out there, and that's another thing. I think I'm definitely going to go back to being uncensored, because I feel like I've been quiet for too long, and I won't do that on your show. I'll wait for mine. But I feel like there's too many of these out there that they go out and they sell these cookie cutter fucking platforms. They ride along with a couple people. They sell a couple of things. They leave. The shit they sold gets canceled. The people don't even go through with it. And they give them a bunch of pre-built cookie cutter papers that the company never implements. So they just wasted their money. Every implementation is the biggest number one issue for HVA or just trade businesses. A lot of us, we go to these conventions, we go to these expos, we get all excited. Oh man, I learned this, I learned that. And they go back and they do fucking nothing. And it happens to a lot of people. It's just the nature of the business. But I feel like when I do these technical trainings and I'm teaching somebody the technical side and also how to communicate, because you can be the best technician in the world, but if you can't communicate what you did to the customer, then that's still going to be an overall bad experience. And you could be the fucking smartest guy in the world, the best tech ever, and they don't know that. So when you're out there doing that, I still get to have tools in my hands. Like I like the classroom setting, but I like being able to ride along, because I'm still getting to run calls and still put, tools in my hands. But at the same token, I'm actually teaching somebody at the same time. So it's pretty fun. And I want to do that with my son, like we're talking about with yours. If my son's going to learn this trade, I want him to learn it from me. I'm not going to let some other schmuck teach him.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Rich started his own business and his sons work with him. And he's talked about in our group chat about, teaching his kid this, teaching his kids this. And it's really cool to see, and that's brought me closer to my two boys than I ever thought it would be, is, not just riding with them every day, but, watching them succeed, watching them struggle, having them reach out to me. Hey, I did this, man, I get the biggest kick out of when my oldest son, like, he calls. He's like, "Hey, have you ever seen this unit do this? Or have you ever fixed this?" And I'll be like, "No." He's like, "Well, this is how you do it because I just did it." And I was like, "Man, it's like I'm mad that he figured it out before me, but like the sense of of like appreciation and pride that I get from that, it's unbelievable." So I could do it with your kids is really cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then that's how, that's how I want to be. I want my son to, to figure it out. I want them to have aspirations in life to, and I want like I said, I want my kids to be in the trade, only if they want to do it though. I don't want them to only do it. Cause granted, I only did this cause it's what my dad did. Um, and I think that's why it took me so long to appreciate the gift that he'd given me. And then when I did is when, going back to earlier, when I stuck my nose in the books and all that kind of stuff. So you have to realize the opportunity we have, because everybody that has, is in this trade, you have an amazing opportunity. What you do with it is totally up to you. It's nobody else's fault but yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. But that's everything in life. You get out of what you make
True.
it. You
Very
got to
true.
put effort in, and if you put the effort in and invest in yourself, you're going to succeed. So,
Yeah, gotta grab it by the balls and go get it. And I always say this, and I don't ever say this to downplay what we do. That is not my intention, because I want people to take pride in it. But once you bust your ass to really learn the sequence of operations and how the equipment that we work on works, it's not really hard what we do. It's not. It's you work in some shitty environments. You got to work in kitchens or a walk-in when somebody's leaning over top of you trying to fucking cook in a box that doesn't work, or in somebody's house, or it's cold, it's hot. But I used to love the thrill of doing service, whether it was commercial, industrial, residential, because every call was something new. I got to figure it out and see what it was. And you have to constantly stay updated. But once you learn all those theories, like, I hate to break it to you, but the refrigeration cycle hasn't changed since its invention of it. It's still the same.
it still does the same thing. It's just different components do different things. I mean, but the basics is still the same. You gotta add heat and remove heat. I mean, that's about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Or you see people that say they've been in, 15 years, and you hear them talk to customers and they're like, yeah, we gotta make some more cool air, or they say something like that. And I'm like, yeah, dude, refrigeration and air conditioning has nothing to do with cooling. It's all about absorbing heat and dissipating heat. And by removing heat, by the absence of heat, produces cooling.
Yeah, I always like it when people are like, "Oh, the last guy, he has to add refrigerant every year. It just uses it up." I'm like, No, it doesn't work that way."
Yeah, I had to tell it to a customer yesterday, and I was like, hey, I know a lot of homeowners have the misconception that, refrigerant is like putting gas in a car, but that is not the truth. And normally you can get them when you say, it's a closed system. Ideally, you should never need it. And I say, when's the last time you recharged your refrigerator? And 9 out of 10 people are like, oh, yeah, never. That makes sense. But you always get that one customer that's like, oh, well, Sears was out here last week recharging it. And you're like, fuck, that didn't work as planned.
Yeah, it's a wild thing. So I'm not going to keep you much longer. We've been going on about 40, almost 50 minutes, but I really appreciate what you do, and I'm excited for your new role. I know you like training guys, and I've been seeing you out there with the younger guys, and I've seen a couple of videos here and there. I was like, what's Gil up to? So now I know what Gil's up to, and I look forward to seeing what you're going to develop with Zeke and his company, and who knows what else. Any last tidbits on if guys want to invest in themselves, what can they do? Just don't ever give up. Just keep going, or what?
Is don't be afraid to ask for help. I always preach this to younger people, is do not be afraid of making mistakes. Because trust me, guys like me and Pat, we have made more mistakes than you have. And all the old heads have. They can tell you they didn't, but they're fucking lying. There's no such thing as a super tech. It's not true. And
if they call you a super tech, it's never a good thing. Generally, it just means you're a smart ass and you think you know everything, and you really don't.
Yeah, you're arrogant. But it's keep making new mistakes. Make a mistake, learn from it. Don't be afraid to call tech support. Those guys, that's what they do. Call them, learn. Guess what? The next time that problem happens, you're going to be like, oh shit, I remember last time. Don't have an ego. Check your ego at the door. Constantly learning, be trying to better yourself, and just really, really understand what you're doing. And when you put that kind of work in, you will see the fruits of your labor, as far as what you're paid, the company you work for, the opportunities that open for you. So don't be afraid. And there's so many resources that I say, the 2 channels we talked about, AC Service Tech, Craig Migliaccio, a great friend of mine, super smart guy. If you're doing residential HVAC, you can literally watch his channel and learn everything you could possibly want to know about doing residential stuff. Brian Orr, HVAC School. Now he does some commercial stuff and stuff like that. Like, there's stuff that you can watch to better yourself. It's just, kind of like, with us, when you start to be an influencer and make content, we're all friends. It's granted, a lot of times we're going the same time on Wednesday night, so we can't watch each other's show, but we support each other. But it's kind of hard to watch content if you're going to make content. You know what I mean? You only have so much time in a day. So just be disciplined and try to better yourself. There's so many resources out there. So please just know that I am trying to build something now through the podcast where it's going to be online and kind of like a Zoom call to be able to talk and go over things. And I'm going to invite some of my friends in, like Pat and some other people, if they're willing to do it, to be able to talk to people. And it's obviously, it's not going to be free, but I'm going to keep it very, very cheap, because if you don't invest in yourself, then you're not going to take it seriously. So that's literally the only reason that I would put some kind of value on it. I'm not worried about the money. So that's my plan moving forward. But yes, always believe in yourself, keep making yourself better, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's sweet. So if you guys don't know where to find Gil, check him out everywhere under HVAC Uncensored. I'm sure you guys know him because he's everywhere. He's been in the game for a long time, and he's been a good friend of mine, and he's been a mentor. He's helped me out a lot. So I really appreciate him stepping up and coming on. Make sure you guys check out the HVAC Uncensored podcast and find him everywhere on social media. And I appreciate you for coming on, Gil, and I want you to have a good night. So see you guys.
Yep. You too, buddy. Thank you.
Yep.
See you, everybody.